Hi, my name is Ana Caballero, and I'm the Secretary of Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency. I'm going to read a book today called Beloved by Toni Morrison. It was on the banned book list, and it's one of my favorites. The story is about a woman and her search for freedom. The piece that I'm going to read today, or the passage that I'm going to read from, is a passage where she's been told by a friend that it would be advisable for her to move from the house that she's been living in with her teenage daughter because the house is haunted. She needed to get up from there, go downstairs, and piece it all back together. This house he told her to leave as though a house was a little thing, a shirtwaist or a sewing basket you could walk off from or give away any old time. She who had never had one, but this one. She who had left a dirt floor to come to this one. She who had to bring a fistful of salsify into Mrs. Gardner's kitchen every day, just to be able to work in it, feel like some part of it was hers, because she wanted to love the work she did, to take the ugly out of it, and the only way she could feel at home on Sweet Home was if she picked some pretty growing thing and took it with her. The day she forgot was the day that butter wouldn't come, or the brine in the barrel blistered her arms. At least it seemed so. A few yellow flowers on the table, some myrtle tied around the handle of the flat iron holding the door open for a breeze calmed her. And when Mrs. Gardner and she sat down to sort Bristol or make ink, she felt fine. Fine. Not scared of the men beyond, the 5 who slept in the quarters near her, but never came in the night, just touched their raggedy hats when they saw her and stared. And if she brought food to them in the fields, bacon and bread wrapped in a piece of cloth sheeting, they never took it from her hands. They stood back and waited for her to put it on the ground at the foot of a tree and leave. Either they did not want to take anything from her, or did not want her to see them eat. 2 or 3 times she lingered, hidden behind the honeysuckle. She watched them. How different they were without her. How they laughed and played and urinated and sang. All but Sixto, who laughed once at the very end. Hallie, of course, was the nicest, baby Sug's 8th and last child, who rented himself out all over the country to buy her away from there. But he too, as it turned out, was nothing but a man. A man ain't nothing but a man, said baby Suggs. But a son? Well, now that's somebody. It made sense for a lot of reasons, because in all of baby's life, as well as Sethi's own, men and women were moved around like checkers. Anybody baby Suggs knew, let alone loved, who hadn't run off or been hanged, got rented out, loaned out, bought up, brought back, stored up, mortgaged, won, stolen, or seized. So baby's 8 children had 6 fathers. What she called the nastiness of life was the shock she received upon learning that nobody stopped playing checkers just because the pieces included her children. Hallie, she was able to keep the longest. 20 years, a lifetime. Given to her, no doubt, to make up for hearing that her 2 girls, neither of whom had their adult teeth, were sold and gone, and she had not been able to wave goodbye. To make up for coupling with a straw boss for 4 months in exchange for keeping her 3rd child, a boy, with her, only to have him traded for lumber in the spring of the next year, and to find herself pregnant by the man who promised not to, and did. That child she could not love, and the rest she would not. God take what he would, she said, and he did, and he did, and he did. And then he gave her Hallie, who gave her freedom when it didn't mean a thing. Sethi had the amazing luck of 6 whole years of marriage to that somebody's son who had fathered every one of her children. A blessing she was reckless enough to take for granted, lean on, as though Sweet Home really was one. As though a handful of myrtle stuck in the handle of a pressing iron propped up against the door in a white woman's kitchen could make it hers. As though mint spring in the mouth changed the breath as well as its odor. A bigger fool never lived. Thank you for listening.